there is no true self. There are true selves, and instead of thinking about us, an individual, as having a true self, which is kind of blocked by various either psychological problems or an inability to understand it unconscious, we should think about an individual as a crowd, or more like a team. So you can say, what is this baseball team like? Well, you can say it's got strengths and weaknesses, and it depends who's up at the plate. In the same way, the mind operates like a set of different individuals coming up to take their center stage. Or if you want to take the more currently fashionable computer analogy, you may have a computer in which you write word processing programs, which you have word processing programs in which you write, but then you can slip out the word processing program and put in a spreadsheet. The spreadsheet doesn't have anything to do with the word processing program. In the same way, the human mind just slips in and out of different routines depending on what's called up by the situation.
Well, I think it's very revealing that if you look at the state of theory in psychology today, so many different theorists describe the parts of the mind differently. You know, the Jungians have the anima and the animus and the shadow, and the Freuds have the id and the ego and the superego, and there's so many others. It's as if you put them all together, you'd have this kind of society of the mind.
Yes, I think that's what one of my cognitive science contemporaries described it as.
No, Marvin Minsky wrote a book by that title.
That's right. And if you take what each of these either different traditions or different philosophies are saying, and you look at all of them and you put it together with a lot of modern scientific research, I think you come to the viewpoint that the mind is a crowd. The mind is what I call a squadron of simpletons. I call them simpletons because simpletons in ordinary terminology means they can just sort of do one thing and they're not too concerned with anything else. You just set out, they can polish the floor, they can write something, they can dance, they can whatever. And I think if you think about the mind and your mind, as a set of simpletons, with them not necessarily ever really talking to one another, you'll begin to understand some of the problems that you might face. You say, why am I always saying the wrong thing to him? Or, I wish I hadn't said that. Or, I wish I could be more loose and open with her as I am with this person. The reason we kind of wish our minds were different is that the person who's trying to control the mind is not really that much in control of what's happening. That it's like saying, I'm part of this team and I wish X were actually in the center of the game right now as opposed to Y, but I can't get him or her into it.
Well, most of us don't normally think of our minds as a team, and if we push the analogy, I suppose it suggests that maybe one of these simpletons could take the role of a coach or something like that, or a conductor of an orchestra.
Well, I think that's, in truth, what consciousness tries to do. But again, most of the time, like with most of evolution, our automatic routines simply just slip into place. An advertiser says, you know, look at these two things, one of them is a tenth cheaper, and you think, God, it's a great bargain. Someone comes in who always gets you annoyed, and that person just appears. It's what philosophical and other traditions sort of call unconscious thinking, or just sort of routine thinking. But if you think about yourself as having lots of different possibilities at any moment, it's a question of consciousness to bring the right one into play at the right moment. And that's, I think, what a lot of people really mean, although I don't think we've had the language to describe it until recently, by conscious development. It's taking this rather dissonant crowd and getting some harmony in it.